All right, guys, if you haven't heard because you're under a Street Fighter related rock, Daigo, the GOAT, he just won another Capcom Pro Tour event. Yes, here's Daigo sporting his signature do-rag, a towel, a beanie, a fashion statement, either way you slice it. He's always reinventing the game, including the fashion game. So I'm always impressed by Daigo. So congratulations to Daigo for winning the CPT Japan 3 event. If you guys don't know, Japan has 4 total CPT events this season. You basically have to win the tournament to get into one of the 31 or 32 spots available for Capcom Cup. So this was the third go for Daigo, and he won it. And of course, he wins in style. So let's just take a look at it. This is one of the most exciting moments from the event.
And actually getting the kill, I think it's going to be more than enough.
Stun. Kawano sure to be able to tie this up 1 round apiece. Yeah, has to activate.
Oh, it's not enough. Ume flash kick.
Not like this. Not like this.
Yes, like this. Oh no! Maybe not. Maybe not anymore. I regret it all.
1, 2, 3. Daigo still spinning that meter. Oh, I love the option of the hail.
Oh, not again!
Are you kidding me?
Are you kidding me? This is so sick.
Oh my kick again! No! I can't believe he did it again. I can't believe he did it again.
To me, what's more impressive than the Ume flash kick moment here, which is very, very sick to see, calling out the double shimmy attempt. Willing to die an honorable death here by throw, if you notice. In Street Fighter V, it's very important. Dying by taking the throw is honorable, and getting shimmied means you're a scrub. But what I like even more than that is the approach after this, using the back Sobot kick here to, check Kawano trying to check Daigo for going in. So instead of going for the Ume walk forward 500 feet and throw you, he goes for the Ume walk forward 200 feet, then back medium kick to bait your jab to check him, right? So awesome round there. That'll teach you to never drop your combos or be suboptimal, because Kawano, I believe, could have extended this combo here and killed Daigo. And I think he just made a mistake in the heat of the moment, giving Daigo the chance for the comeback. But of course, Daigo takes those, and he takes those in emphatic fashion and turns them into victories. But beyond just him playing fantastic this weekend, what I really wanted to talk about is why Daigo is considered the GOAT of Street Fighter, the greatest of all time. And it has to do more than just his play. And I think the thoughts that he expressed after this tournament kind of really hit to the heart of that. So after this event, Daigo tweeted out, "I won today's CPT. This year I caught COVID-19, broke a finger, and wasn't getting great tournament results, but it seems good things do happen if you keep trying your best. I'll savor this just for today and get back to work tomorrow. Man, Kawano sure has grown." Oh man, words of inspiration from Daigo. He's never resting on his laurels and appreciating the win for a day, but getting back to work to prepare for the next battle. And on top of that, giving credit to Kawano, because Daigo, if you don't know, is 40 years old. Daigo is competing at the highest level in an industry that often favors the young. In many other esports, it is highly unusual to see anyone past the age of 25 competing at the highest level. You see people at age 23 in like League of Legends and Call of Duty saying it's time to hang up the sticks, put up the keyboards and mice, and pack it up because they're too old to keep competing. And Daigo is 40 doing it till this day. And Kawano, in contrast, is about 22, 23 years old. So Daigo giving credit to the new generation of fighting game players who are finally rising up to challenge the old guard. But this is what I really want to talk about, is how Daigo has managed to stay relevant in fighting games forever. He was competing before Kawano was even born, if you will believe it or not. This is Daigo Umehara's Wikipedia page. I can scroll all the way down to 1995 for the earliest recorded tournament results in a fighting game for Daigo and Vampire Hunter here in Wikipedia. I'm sure there's many more that are not even recorded here. 1995. And here he is winning tournaments in Vampire Savior, Street Fighter Alpha 3, CVS, not CVS 2, CVS, Street Fighter Alpha 3, Guilty Gear, Evo, the first iterations of Evo, he's over here casually winning Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Guilty Gear XX Reload, Street Fighter Third Strike. A lot of people don't know this about Daigo. He used to win every game. Guilty Gear, Street Fighter Alpha 3, Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 3 itself. he was winning in many, many games. So he's been a multi-game championship for decades. And of course, as the 2009, 2010s rolled around, he became more of a specialist in Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 5. And he's maintained relevancy through all this time. And I feel like a lot of people can agree that the level of competition and international competition and presence and prestige really grew around this time. A lot of the earlier EVOs didn't feature as many Japanese players, for example. There would be a few people who would come over and, take America's money pretty much. But then, towards the end of the 2010s, it became a fully international affair. Everyone from all over the world is coming to EVO and competing. Daigo won 2009, 2010 EVO back-to-back for Street Fighter 4. And since then, it's not like he won every tournament. After winning 2010 and 2009 EVO for Street Fighter 4, there was a period where Ryu got kind of nerfed in that version of Street Fighter. He was playing around with Yun and AE. He was trying to figure out what to do, and he always remained relevant. He always remained relevant, always performed well in many tournaments, but he wasn't winning EVO back-to-back. I believe in 2011, he got 4th. This was the first time Daigo had lost an EVO for Street Fighter 4. A lot of people remember that moment. That's when Punko perfected Daigo and popped off and threw the Red Bull can, and Latif took him out and eliminated Daigo. And Daigo was playing Yun at that time, but you can see there he was always trying to reinvent himself. He knew Ryu wasn't going to cut it. He knew Yun was a little bit of pay to win, and he's trying to pick the cheap stuff to win. But then, after all that, Daigo comes back to play in Capcom Cup 2015, and he places second to Kazunoko. He was close to reclaiming the throne and claiming the final major victory, the send-off for Street Fighter 4, the opening act EVO 2009 and the closing act Capcom Cup 2015. He almost had it. It was an amazing set between Kazunoko and Daigo. Daigo rocking Evil Ryu, finding a character that matched his strengths and was extremely strong. Going up against Kazunoko, is one of the smartest and nuttiest players of all time, multi-game champion. Has one of the few people who you could argue has a resume that rivals Daigo, really. So it was fitting to see these two meet in this moment. But I want to kind of go back to that moment for a second and just share an interesting tidbit. This moment has stuck out in my mind for a long time. So here's Mike Ross standing on the Capcom Cup 2015 stage, delivering the awards for the victors.
Everybody, thank you guys so much for coming out to Capcom Cup. About to begin the award ceremony. We'd like to congratulate Kazunoko for getting first place. But as we have to present our awards, for second place, can we get to the stage? Everybody give it up for Daigo. That's the last time we may ever see him.
So spoiler, it was not the last time we would ever see him. Daigo does return. I know we're all left in suspense after that moment, but he does return. But the beauty of this moment is that just like this weekend after winning CPT Japan, he mentions he'll rest from now but begin training for the next battle. After Capcom Cup 2015, it was symbolic for Daigo to not claim his second place award, to not return to the stage, because just like Ryu, Daigo was, he's walking off looking for the next battle. He's not concerned with the awards and the accolades at that moment. The first priority, of course, was him probably going to the bar to have a beer after a very stressful, long weekend of competing. But then after that, it was proceeding to the next battle and just training for the next moment. So that always stuck out to me, how after Kazunoko claimed the throne, Daigo wasn't concerned with any pomp and circumstance. It was all about getting to the next battle and preparing for the next moment. And that's what Daigo is really all about. So Daigo, he might not have had the most dominant trend in modern Street Fighter history, right? Street Fighter 4 is definitely one of the most dominant players, and he's always been one of the most dominant players of all time. But you could really look at his results over Street Fighter 5 especially, and it's hard to argue that he's top 5 in the world, top 3 in the world at any one moment, right? So he has amazing results, of course, I don't want to downplay, but we can look through the season leaderboard of Street Fighter V. 2016 season, he's in 9th place there, overall point rankings. If you go to 2017 here, which place is he? 17th, kind of falling a little bit lower in the rankings, but still making Capcom Cup, which is the #1 priority in these things. 2018 season, looking good, top 10 again. 2019, he falls to 24th, kind of the danger zone. A lot of these people here were questionable about whether or not they would qualify or not. So it's hard to really look at results alone and say with confidence that Daigo is the GOAT of Street Fighter, right? But that's not what necessarily makes Daigo so great. What makes Daigo so great is that he's able to remain relevant and compete at the highest level year after year after year after year, and do it with a different style. You know, 2019 Daigo, I don't know if you guys remember, comes out to NCR and just walks Problem X down.
Daigo played super offensive, and Problem X is not ready for this.
He was right outside that range. He was right outside that range by pixels.
Super offensive Daigo coming out, and this is one of the earliest tournaments in the CPT season. We didn't know what to expect from him. And then he just shows up with his style against the Evo champion. This is 2019, right? The second premier event after the 2018 season, rushing the Evo champion down, and I mean, just a complete offensive style that we're not used to seeing from Daigo. And he wins this set. He ends up claiming the set after this round. After that, people always talk about the Ume flash kick, but 2020 was a bit different. We saw the rise of the Ume sweep. So shout out to High Fight for this compilation. He put up together this amazing compilation of all the sweep whiff punishes from CPT 2020, which he also won the event CPT Asia East 1 to qualify for the season finals in 2020. And then this is just a new style, a new technique that people hadn't really seen represented by Guile players or Daigo himself. So showing a new way to approach the game and to think about approaching matchups. Seems so simple, but doing the most with the least. So it's not that unusual to think of. Guile sweep is one of the best in the game, actually. It's 7 frames, but him to represent that style, put that focus and show it at that level, just something that people were not doing. And once again, CPT 2021, we had one of those defining moments that shows that Daigo is always willing to keep it fresh and always willing to try new things.
This is how he won the first round, was just by this pressure. Wow, Daigo walked forward. This is how he won the first round, was just by this pressure. Wow, Daigo walked forward. This is how he won.
I love the audio clip of James Chen there, but it's so simple. It's such a simple moment. Daigo's pretty much one interaction away from stun, a throw, or a shimmy. He's definitely going to stun him. And in the face of this danger, he holds forward on wake up, brazenly walks into any oncoming damage, a throw, a button, Kawano just dropping his controller and accidentally hitting him, and he walks forward and throws Kawano, calling out his walk back shimmy attempt and block attempt, and establishes momentum for himself. And then he goes on to win the tournament. So Daigo, what makes him so great is that he has, of course, the will to keep winning. He wrote the book himself. Listen, this is all just me doing a promo for Daigo's book. Daigo has the will to keep winning. Of course, we had to come around to it. He's already laid out the plan here. If you haven't read his book yet, I highly recommend doing so. He doesn't necessarily go into too much detail about his own training style, but he speaks about his life and his priorities. It's more about life philosophy, I would say. And one of the main things he talks about is always looking to learn something new and to always grow. He mentions that winning is not necessarily the goal of what you're doing. Winning in results is going to be markers of progress, but your actual explicit goals is to always constantly learn. And Daigo has shown through decades, multiple decades at this point, that he has the will to constantly reinvent, to have an open mind, to constantly look for new ways to approach the games, to not only uplift other members of the community with them on this journey, but, you know, to also just look introspectively and look at new ways to approach things and to really elevate the level of the people around him as well as he goes forward on this path of constant self-improvement. So that is why Daigo is the GOAT of Street Fighter V, Street Fighter as a whole. Not because he's the most winningest player of all time, but because he talks the talk and walks the walk in terms of always being the best version of yourself possible. And that's what makes Daigo the GOAT. Calling back to what he was referring to in this tweet, man, Kawano sure has grown. I love the contrast here. You know, Daigo, he won't be competing forever. There's gonna come a time where Daigo is gonna eventually hang up the sticks and he might not be a primary competitor anymore. He is 40 years old at this point. He's not showing signs of slowing down as this weekend has shown, but to see him acknowledge the future competitors and the future leaders of the Street Fighter game, it's a beautiful thing to see. Just like a little tip of the hat acknowledgement at Kawano, the young upstart, who I'm looking forward to potentially qualifying in the 4th CPT event. I'm really rooting for Kawano to qualify because I think it would cement the storyline. But I think it's a beautiful way to claim a victory, acknowledge the young generation, and show why he is the greatest of all time for Street Fighter. That's it. That's all I had for this video. If you enjoyed this discussion about Daigo, please consider subscribing to the channel. I like talking about Street Fighter and, of course, like talking about Daigo and his impact on the scene. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time, peace.